Hello guys, this is your friend and we are back with a new fanfic. Which is what if Naruto is defeated by Sasuke at the Valley of the End Part 1. And if you enjoy this fanfic then please press the like button and subscribe to my channel for more fanfic like this. And now let's start the fanfic. Seems I was right after all. Kitten, this little kid is the host of the Nine Tails. I can sense Nine Tails inside of the kit. Though barely alive the kid may be, he won't die. He'll definitely live, the Nibby said with intrigue. She is, well, a gigantic, 50-story wild cat that looks like a ephemeral being made entirely of blue flames with black markings, although she is in fact a solid being and not a ghost. What should I do? Should I take him? Is that wise? Or should I kill him? Konoha would be without a Jinchuriki for several years if I did, and even after the Kyuubi re-manifests, they would need a lot of good shinobi trying to subdue and capture it. Killing him would weaken them considerably. Yugito asked desperately, the 16-year-old Jonin not really sure what to do with this current predicament, and also hoping that she wouldn't have to kill this cute and innocent-looking boy in front of her. She had been sent on an S-class solo mission by Lord Raikage. Everyone had heard about Suna's failed invasion of Konoha by now, but more intriguingly, everyone had heard about their allies for the invasion, the new Otogakure no Sato, led by former Konoha legendary Sannin Orochimaru. This development had piqued the Raikage's interest, and as a result he had sent Yugito, the two Tails Jinchuriki and Jonin of Kumo, to Otogakure to assassinate Orochimaru and retrieve whatever heirlooms or bloodline limit holders that she could capture for Kumogakure, eliminate them if she couldn't retrieve them. However, as she was scouting the borders of Otogakure, she had come onto a major battle between the Kyuubi Jinchuriki and some Uchiha with a strange, unknown power. Intrigued, she had stayed and proceeded to watch and even enjoy the battle, and to her surprise, she found herself picking a horse in the races she wanted the blonde boy to win, although she was very quick to chop that off to the fact that they were both Jinchuriki as opposed to anything more than that. Nevertheless, she now had a choice to make. Dispose of the Jinchuriki and proceed with her mission, framing the Uchiha in the process, which would be easy for her given that she also used lightning style just like the Uchiha kid, or abandon the mission and take the Jinchuriki back to Kumogakure with her. There were pros and cons to both decisions, and yet for both decisions, the pros outweighed the cons considerably, which ironically is what made the decision so hard for her. I cannot tell you what to do, kitten, that is entirely up to you. You make decisions based on what you think would be good for Kumogakure. I make decisions based on what I want and what I feel is good for me. Those are two completely different decision-making processes. However, I'll say this, I believe that this may be a situation where what you want to do and what is good for Kumogakure are one and the same. The Nibby replied somewhat cryptically, although Yugito was very quick to deduce what Nibby meant, which is why she proceeded to act fast, quickly grabbing the blonde Jinchuriki and making a run for it, heading for the hidden sound village with the intent to circle back towards the hidden hot water village and then use the sea to circle around to Kumo, the same way that she came. However, she made sure to erase her scent in her tracks to ensure that nobody realized that there had been anyone else at the scene apart from the blonde boy and the Uchiha, the intention of course, to make it look like either the blonde and the Uchiha crossed over to the Sound Nation together, or the Uchiha boy captured the blonde boy and dragged him over to the Sound Nation, which of course, was the more likely interpretation. 3 weeks later. Kumogakure no Sato. Oh hey, you muscle-bound asshole. Have you come to play with me again? Naruto asked sarcastically, all of his injuries from the previous day of torture a thing of the past now, as if it wasn't just hours ago since his last torture session, a session in which he had had all of his teeth beaten out of his mouth and his face looked like someone used him as a piñata. I was mistaken, you're much tougher than I anticipated. I have decided to end your torture and interrogation today, not because I have given up on breaking your will, but because I hate the look on Yugito's face every time I come back from torturing you. She hasn't been the same since the torture started. In fact, I have a feeling she wishes she had killed you instead and spared you all of this suffering. The Raikage said earnestly, causing Naruto's bravado and obnoxiousness to disappear completely, as he too had seen how much this was hurting his captor. Internally chastising himself for caring so much about the feelings of the woman who was responsible for his suffering, but at the same time unable to help but to be concerned about her. After all, despite what she had done, she was still not only the most beautiful woman he had ever seen, but was also the one that had shown him the most genuine love and care that he had ever received in his life over the last 3 weeks. He couldn't hate or be angry at her no matter how much he tried. "She's in pain because of you, asshole." Naruto snapped venomously. If the Raikage was surprised at all by his genuine care for Yugito, doing well not to show it at all. Quote. "I know," the Raikage admitted after some time, subjecting Naruto to an intense stare before finally relenting. "That's why this will be my last day torturing you. There will be no more of that, I promise," the Raikage said gravely, causing Naruto to swallow an audible gulp as he wondered if this meant what he thought it meant, that they were finally going to kill him. "Don't worry, I don't intend to kill you. Despite what I said earlier, I do not think Yugito actually wants to see you dead. So here's the deal. For the next 12 months, I'm going to be the best father I can be to you, and my brother is going to be the best uncle to you that he can possibly be. That of course will include getting the best training from the 2 fastest and strongest shinobi in the world. After 12 months, if you're not happy or satisfied, you can leave and go back to Konoha, and I will ensure that you are not harmed by any Kumo shinobi on your way back home. This is the promise I make to you, and I swear to uphold my end of the bargain, on my life and those of the previous Kage, who are all my father, grandfather, and great-grandfather," the Raikage said, causing Naruto to open and close his mouth repeatedly, not knowing what to do or say as he just couldn't comprehend how the conversation turned to this, the Raikage internally smirking with satisfaction because despite what Naruto thought, he had actually given him far more information than he realized during their interrogation sessions, which is why the Raikage knew exactly what buttons to press. Quote. "Think about it. I'll give you another week to think it over. Meanwhile, I'll allow Yugito unrestricted access to you, meaning, unlimited visitation rights. Please have your decision in exactly 7 days," the Raikage said as he got up and left the chakra suppression cell that Naruto was locked in. "Oh, and Gaki, I've allowed my elite guard and my foolish brother each 1 day of unrestricted visitation over the next 7 days, so expect more than 1 visitor," the Raikage said before slamming the cell shut and leaving the still dumbfounded Jinchuriki alone in his cell in order to stew over his offer, confident that he had played the best gambit that he could have possibly played, especially since he knew that the kid held promises with such high regard. If he could get the kid to promise to stay for 12 months and give them an earnest shot for 12 months, then he was sure that the kid would not break his promise, and that after 12 months, he would not want to leave Kumogakure. 3 years later. Kumogakure no Sato. It's been 3 years since you arrived, 2 years since the terms of your agreement with Lord Raikage expired. Yet here you are, still with us, like the filthy conniving little spy that you are," Karui said antagonistically, causing Naruto to release a heavy sigh as he couldn't believe that after all these years, and after all this time, she still didn't trust him at all. They were at the Lightning Dragon restaurant, they being Naruto's uncle, Killer Bee, and his former genin, now Jonin team, consisting of Karui, Omoi, and Samui. Naruto along with his team were also present, his team consisting of himself, Darui, C, and Kurama Yakumo, whom Naruto had rescued from her quite frankly lonely and miserable life in Konoha. Yugito and her team of Naruto's recruits was also present, the team consisting of Yugito herself, Guren, Yukimaru, and Bishiteki Renmara. Initially, Naruto had recruited the 4 aforementioned shinobi to be his teammates. Well, actually he had only intended for Yakumo, Renmara, and Yukimaru to be his teammates and for Guren to be a jonin in the village. However, Lord I had refused the proposition and declared that only Yakumo would be in his team and that Guren, Yukimaru, and Renmara would join Yugito's team as she was experienced enough to teach them the Kumogakure ways but also strong enough to protect them should Konoha or Otogakure come for them. He had thus declared that Naruto would be in a team with Darui, and Kurama Yakumo. Of course, Naruto knew the real reason that Lord Raikage refused to allow him to be in a team with those three, because it would be a team of outsiders. There would be not a single indigenous Kumogakure ninja in the squad, which would make defection easy as there would be no one taking the village's interests into account. Yugito in a way was assigned as both their anchor to the village and their would-be assassin should they decide to defect. Another reason for this arrangement was to separate him and Yugito, as Lord I believed that having two Jinchuriki in the same team was both redundant and too dangerous a preposition. So it was with that said that the current teams were formed, and it had actually worked out pretty well as they had all developed strong bonds as teammates, and it also helped that they were compatible in battle. As for Naruto, well, naturally, he had gone through some changes over the last couple of years. He was much taller now, standing at 1.88 meters in height, and had the physique of a Greek god, spotting rippling muscles built for both power and speed. He was wearing dark gray ninja pants along with the standard red and white Kumo shin guards and arm guards. On his upper body he was wearing a dark gray sleeveless top that extends into his face as a face mask that covers the lower half of his face, and was also wearing the standard Kumogakure one-strap white flak jacket. His ninja sandals were also white, and on his back one would find a large sword wrapped up in white bandages. Filthy conniving spy. Man, will you give it a rest already? We all have a very stellar record for the village, Naruto-sama more than anyone else. He even recruited us for the village, and while the village already had some amazing shinobi such as you and others, you can't argue against the fact that we have made the village much stronger than it was before. Gurren retorted. She is a beautiful young woman with red lipstick, fair skin, dark eyes and light blue hair which she keeps in a spiky ponytail with long strands of hair framing her face. She is also wearing the standard Jonin outfit with form-fitting dark gray ninja pants with white tape around the ankles, black ninja sandals, a short-sleeve gray form-fitting top and a white flak jacket, customized to have two straps instead of the one-strap flak jacket that was customary of Kumo in order to hold up both of her. She has a weapons pouch on her left leg and does not appear to wield a sword or any other form of weapon. Yes, you have a very stellar record, that you intend to use in order to take over the village and make us subservient to Konoha. The redhead Kunoichi exclaimed indignantly. Well, I do want to become the next Raikage, so your suspicions are not totally unwarranted. But you should know better than to think I want to have anything to do with Konoha. Besides, Yukimaru, Gurren-chan, and Renmara have nothing to do with Konoha, and Yakumo-chan hates Konoha even more than I do. Naruto retorted. Again with that stupid shit. You will never be the Raikage, you dumb ass. Darui will be Raikage, heck I will become Raikage before you do. Karui said antagonistically. Doesn't mean I'm going to give up trying. Naruto said with a casual shrug of the shoulders. Besides, becoming Raikage is just a means to an end. My real goal is to become the most powerful and versatile ninja in the elemental nations, because that way, I can protect my village and my loved ones from any kind of threat. Becoming Raikage just makes it easier to become the protector of the village because it is a position that gives you power and influence beyond ninjutsu, genjutsu, and taijutsu. It allows you to protect the village in more than one way. Naruto retorted, Karui gritting her teeth in anger when she realized that she couldn't use not becoming Raikage as a way to torment the blonde Uzumaki. Whatever. I still don't trust you. Alright, Omoi, Karui stuttered. Actually, I think Naruto would make an excellent Raikage, not only because his heart is in the right place but also because he seems to have a deep understanding of Kumogakure's cultural and political makeup. He is a dreamer and a philosopher, and has the most charisma out of anyone I have ever met. Of course, you also need to meet a certain criteria in terms of ninja prowess. Typically in Kumogakure, the Raikage has always been the fastest and physically strongest ninja in the village, and of course, the Raikage has also been a master Raiden user. Naruto checks all of those boxes. In fact, he does more than check all of them, he even has 3 bloodline limits, 2 of which are lightning based, and has a bloodline expansion too that he has mastered. They don't call him the god of storms for nothing. Omoi replied eloquently, detailing all the reasons why Naruto was a top candidate to become the next Raikage. You forgot to mention that he is a perfect Jinchuriki. Samui retorted. And a lightning-fast teleporter like his father, you know, the same father who had a flea on-site order placed on him and became the Yondaime Hokage. Gurren said confidently. A jutsu creator like his father, and a master of 1,000 techniques and fighting styles. Naruto-sama will be the next Raikage, and I pity anyone who would dare to challenge the might of Kumogakure during his reign. Yakumo said confidently, also wearing the standard kunoichi outfit of Kumogakure up except down at the bottom. She had on a pair of black form-fitting shorts along with a gray skirt at the top. She also had a weapons pouch on her left leg and was also wearing the standard black and red Kumogakure shin and arm guards. She also typically carried a sword that was strapped to her back but was currently placed on the side next to her as she was seated for a meal. Another difference was that her white flak jacket was custom made, not having a strap and covering both her and her torso like a corset. I can't imagine how much endless training it took to master not just lighting and wind release, but to also master earth and water release, the magnetic release, storm release, and swift release bloodline limits, and the electromagnetic bloodline expansion. That's a lot of work and a lot of muscle memory to develop. Renmara said in awe. He is a 15-year-old young man with chin-length purple hair which is parted in the middle. He also has red-colored eyes that glow whenever he uses his dujutsu. He is wearing the standard Kumogakure Jonin outfit complete with the red and white shin and arm guards and the one-strap white flak jacket with a short-sleeve gray top under the flak jacket. Fitting across his back are two dual swords known as the Lightning Kiba. You forgot to mention sealing and barrier ninjutsu. Yukimaru replied. But no genjutsu talent whatsoever. HN. A kage who can't even cast an A-rank genjutsu is no kage at all. Karui retorted. And what the fuck Omoi? Since when do you, the most paranoid in the world, have such a calm and measured attitude towards trusting outsiders? Karui exclaimed as she began trying to strangle Omoi, only for Samui to grab her and put her in a headlock before she could do any real damage. Cut it out, idiot, and stop referring to our fellow Kumogakure ninja as outsiders. Besides, didn't Naruto help you and Omoi develop your individual prized jutsu? What kind of spy helps their enemies get stronger? Your paranoia makes absolutely no sense whatsoever. Samui chastised her friend and teammate. Let go of me, you big bimbo. You're crushing me, Karui retorted. Only if you promise to stop creating division and promoting conflict between us and our comrades. Kumogakure has groomed a golden generation. This is our chance to finally stand at the very top of the shinobi world. You need to stop trying to sabotage us, because to be quite frank, you're the only one acting like an enemy to our cause. Samui said, Karui's eyes widening in realization as Samui's words began to sink in. I'm sorry. I didn't think about it like that. I guess I'm a little scared. Everything that has happened over the last 3 years just seems like a dream. It seems like something that is too good to be true. I keep thinking that we'll wake up one day and realize that it was all an illusion, a big, long con. Karui said with a sad tone of voice. I understand, but that is an issue that you have to resolve for yourself. You can't put that on Naruto or the friends that have decided to support him in Kumogakure. That's totally not cool. If you keep acting like this, your fear might come to reality, but only because you made it impossible for any other outcome to occur. Samui said with wisdom far beyond her years on the planet. I know, okay, I know. Karui trailed off, Samui finally letting go completely of the headlock that she had on her friend, comfortable that her friend had finally calmed down and would no longer cause any more problems, at least for the foreseeable future. 3 days later. Konoha. Tsunade Haim, please accept our apologies. We have not been able to locate neither Naruto or Sasuke, nor even Kabuto. We have dismantled Otogakure as a ninja village. All of Orochimaru's henchmen have been either captured or eliminated, at least most of them have. We are aware that he has a 6-man cell that he keeps close to himself and goes everywhere with. Interrogations also reveal that these are the most powerful and elite of his lackeys, and that Uchiha Sasuke and Yakushi Kabuto are two of those people based on descriptions. The others, however, have no recognizable descriptions, certainly not ones matching Uzumaki Naruto. In any case, Oto is still dangerous ground. Orochimaru has released all of his experiments from their captivity and they are running around all over the land on murderous rampages. His ninja force may be gone, but he has been able to keep us very busy. Kakashi reported, being second in command of the sizable task force that was sent into Oto, the commander being none other than Jiraiya of the Sannin himself, who was not present at the moment. Damn it! What the actual? How hard can it be to find a loud-mouthed, flashy ninja wearing a bright orange jumpsuit? He has whisker marks on his face, for Pete's sake. You would think someone like that might be nothing but a big bullseye waiting to be found. Tsunade exclaimed in frustration. The war has lasted 3 years, much longer than anticipated. We were not prepared for Orochimaru's guerrilla tactics, or for the fact that there is no actual ninja village but rather dozens of hidden bases. It made it easy for them to prolong the war and fight us on even ground despite their inferior quality of shinobi. Just when we thought the war was over, we then had to deal with rampaging chakra monsters. Orochimaru has played his cards well, and the time draws near for him to take over Sasuke's body. If someone like Orochimaru gets his hands on the Sharingan, I dread what might still await us. Asuma replied. Damn it. Do we still think that Naruto is even in the land of sound? Tsunade asked with an almost defeated tone of voice. And have the bloody toads still not yielded Naruto's whereabouts? Those stubborn fools. Tsunade said in frustration. The toad are firm in their stance. Naruto made it clear to them that he didn't want them to disclose any information about his whereabouts, and that they can't even give so much as a hint. We have also recently learned, thanks to Jiraiya-sama's persistence, that the toads actually wanted to sever their contract to Naruto. However, the contract cannot be arbitrarily annulled, it requires both the summoner and the summons to agree to a split. But, the summons are not obligated to teach the summoner any of their signature techniques, although they are obligated to fight for the summoner when summoned except if it is against another summoner or another summoner's interest. Kakashi explained in detail. Why are you explaining something I already know to me? Tsunade asked confusedly. Because, why would the toads refuse to teach Naruto their techniques? Why would they want to sever their contract with him? Why would he refuse? Kakashi asked rhetorically. I don't get it, Sakura said with a confused frown. They would refuse to teach him their techniques and seek to annul their contract with him if they didn't trust him anymore or didn't believe he represented the values that they stand for anymore. Naruto would in turn refuse to annul the contract because as soon as he does, the toads would no longer be obligated to keep his secrets and would therefore reveal his whereabouts and his presumably new allegiances. Furthermore, Naruto would want to keep the contract in case he ever had to go up against Jiraiya-sama in the battlefield. Jiraiya-sama would not be able to summon his toads against Naruto as they are obligated by their code not to choose sides in battles between summoners. Shizune explained patiently. But that would mean that that would mean that he willingly abandoned the village. No way. Naruto would never. Sakura exclaimed hysterically. Calm down, Sakura. It's possible that Naruto is being controlled or manipulated. That's why we have to find him. Tsunade said forcefully. Why yes, Tsunade Shishio. Sakura stuttered. As for Jiraiya and this lead that he is following. Tsunade trailed off with a questioning tone. Jiraiya-sama has received information from a source indicating that there is someone in Kumogakure who has a similar resemblance to Naruto. The informant could not confirm whisker markings, but the person of interest is said to wear a face mask similar to mine to cover the lower half of their face. Kakashi explained patiently. Kumogakure is on the other side of the land of sound. If you do not travel by sea, you would have to go through the land of sound to get there. We never once thought to go past the land of sound and look beyond there. After all, why would we, given the circumstances? But how did he even get there? Did Orochimaru sell him to the Raikage? Are they in league? Did they cut some kind of mutually beneficial deal? It doesn't make sense. Tsunade said confusedly. The information is not confirmed, Godime-sama. For all we know, this could be someone else. Blonde hair is pretty common in Kumogakure. Besides, there are some things that the informant said that do not match with the current profile of Uzumaki Naruto. This person of interest is said to be around the same age as Naruto was, but his physical traits are the complete opposite. It is said that he is very tall for his age and that he is a very muscular physique. He is also known for his speed, agility, and reaction time, with rumors that he is even faster and stronger than the Raikage, who himself is known as the fastest ninja in the world and the strongest man in the world. He is also said to be the leading candidate to become the next Raikage and is suspected to be a descendant of the legendary Gold and Silver brothers, and he is known as the God of Speed and the God of Storms. By that description alone, this person is an S-rank threat level. He cannot possibly be the notoriously incompetent dead last Dobi that disappeared 3 years ago. Sai said, Tsunade narrowing her eyes dangerously at the new members of Team 7. Namely, Sai, Aburame Torun, and Yamanaka Fu, Sakura having taken a step back from the team in order to get the much-needed therapy and training that she had required after losing both of her teammates, Tsunade having been forced to form a makeshift Team 7 for the war on the Sound, and Danzo having forced her hand on the matter, with her not having any leverage to resist after having lost both Konoha's only Jinchuriki and the last Uchiha. Besides, sending Sakura into a war zone at the time, right after losing both her teammates and with her very non-existent skill set at the time, would have been almost the same as tying her up, and taking a kunai and torturing her to death. She also, as much as she wasn't proud of it, had thought that Kakashi would be able to cope better in the war if he had teammates that he didn't necessarily care about whether they died or not. It would allow him to focus strictly on the mission and thus, perform better than he otherwise would have. Naruto was a child who was clearly underdeveloped for his age. Despite that, he did very well for himself, mastering the 4th prized jutsu and learning how to summon the boss toad Gamabunta. With proper care and training, and a proper diet, who knows what could have become of him. Tsunade said, though honestly trying to convince herself more than anyone else, as she knew that the chances of Naruto advancing that much in just 3 years were nigh impossible. But she had to hold on to some hope, otherwise she would not be able to carry on doing her job for the next hour, much less another day. We'll just have to wait and see what Lord Jiraiya comes back with. Torun said, closing the chapter before the volatile Gordime got angry, as he knew that Sai was utter trash when it comes to reading a person's mood. Very well. Get some rest for the next 2 days. On the morning of the 3rd you return to the field. Otogakure must be crushed to the point that they can never function as a ninja village ever again, and Orochimaru must be found and assassinated. Whatever his involvement is in this whole thing, I will never forgive him for it. Tsunade said angrily, everyone saluting the Hokage before quickly departing from the office. Quote, do you really think it could be him, Tsunade Shishio? Sakura asked hopefully. I don't know. I have to agree with Sai that Naruto being essentially the strongest ninja in Kumo seems very unlikely. His parents were not short by any means, but they were not exactly tall either, and he was extremely short when he left. It does seem unlikely that this person is Naruto. But nevertheless, we lose nothing from investigating. If there is someone that dangerous out there, then we need to know as much as we can about them. The face mask is a bit suspicious though. If Naruto had defected and wanted that to be a secret, it would make sense for him to find a solution for his whisker marks, and it's just like him to resort to something as simple as a face mask. Tsunade explained. Let's hope that Jiraiya-sama is able to bring him back then, if it is really him. Sakura said with a combination of hope and anger in her eyes, hope to finally get her teammate back, but also anger at the possibility that Naruto willingly abandoned her and broke his promise to her. Meanwhile, Mount Uryako, Kumogakure. You've been spying on me the whole day, so I thought I would take the liberty to give you a proper greeting. So why don't you stop hiding and reveal yourself, Jiraiya-sensei? Naruto said seemingly to no one, as it appeared as if he was speaking to the open space of the mountain range known as Mount Uryako. Jiraiya-sensei, you said, and that voice too. You sound older and more mature, far less loud and bratty, and your voice is much deeper too, but there is no way I wouldn't recognize that cadence. A voice that Naruto recognized all too well reverberated in the mountain range as his former master came out from behind a large boulder that he was hiding behind, confidently walking out as he approached the blonde Uzumaki, who of course was facing the direction from which the toad sage came from, having sensed his chakra with his incredible sensory abilities. My, what have they been feeding you here in Kumogakure? You're almost as tall as me. Never in a million years would I have believed it if I didn't see it for myself. Jiraiya said in disbelief. Just a normal healthy diet. Nothing out of the ordinary. Naruto replied simply. So you say. Quite confident of you to lure me out here on the outskirts of the village, with no backup to protect you, not that anyone would be able to stop me from dragging your ass back to Konoha. Jiraiya said gravely. So high and mighty, for someone who took 3 years to find me despite me not even attempting to hide my location for 2 of those 3 years. If this is the best Konoha's finest spy master is capable of, then I fear for the village hidden in the leaves. Naruto retorted, Jiraiya narrowing his eyes at the blonde Uzumaki, clearly taking offense to having anyone question his spy master abilities. A whole war has been fought over you. Countless people have died trying to find you. Jiraiya said angrily, starting to get irritated by Naruto's cavalier attitude about his defection. You mean a whole war has been fought over the Kyuubi Jinchuriki, don't you? Naruto retorted, much to Jiraiya's utter shock. You really think that's the reason Tsunade started a war with Otogakure? Jiraiya asked angrily. No, but it's the reason she gained any support to start a war over me. Konoha wants its military weapon back. Naruto retorted. You ungrateful imbecile. Do you have any idea how many people your defection has affected? That poor girl Hinata has been suffering from depression since you defected. She even attempted suicide, twice. Sakura has not fared better either. She probably would have ended up the same if not for Tsunade Hime and Shizune's support, or the therapy sessions that Tsunade Hime mandated for her. Tsunade has stopped drinking and gambling because she didn't want anything distracting her from finding you and making sure the village that you love and want to protect as Hokage is still intact when you return. And you're out here acting like a selfish, entitled brat. You make me sick. Jiraiya said with fury and disgust. Quite the hypocrite, aren't you, acting all high and mighty while being a complete deadbeat godfather. Where were you during my 12 years of suffering? Where were you during the assassination attempts? When the teachers at the academy were sabotaging my development? Where were you when the shops were selling me defective equipment at unreasonably exorbitant prices? Where were you when I was kicked out of the orphanage as soon as I could walk on my own 2 feet and had to live on my own, teaching myself to wash properly, brush my teeth, wash my own clothes, do homework with no one to help me solve the problems? Where were you through all of that? And now you want to act all high and mighty because I found people who actually took the time and effort to be there for me every step of the way. You make me sick. Naruto said with disgust. Sarutobi-sensei and I had an agreement. He would raise you while I managed my spy network for the village and then I would take you on as an apprentice when you became a genin. Jiraiya said defensively. In other words, you wanted him to do the hard part, which he didn't bother to do, and then swoop in like a hero and take all the credit. You didn't even bother to check in and see if he actually kept his end of the bargain, did you? Naruto asked incredulously. He said you were doing well. Jiraiya said angrily. He said, the so-called greatest spy master in the universe could not be bothered to verify his information about someone as allegedly precious as his godchild. Don't make me laugh. Naruto said incredulously. What about Tsunade Hime? She's like a grandma to you. She sees you as her grandson. Think about how heartbroken she would be if she heard that you willingly abandoned her in the village. Jiraiya said, trying to appeal to Naruto's emotional attachments. She's just as guilty as you. You think I don't know anything, don't you? You think I don't know that Uzumaki Kushina and Namikaze Minato were my parents? That means that I'm literally Tsunade's last living relative and she still abandoned me, just like you. Not to mention that she herself abandoned the village for well over a decade. I don't recall her running and hiding from the Hunter Nin Anbu division. Yet I can already foresee the hypocrisy of her sending ninja after me to forcefully retrieve me when she hears of this, or even making demands to Raikage-sama that I be returned to Konoha. Naruto retorted. It's not like she would have a choice even if she wanted to let you go, which of course she doesn't. You're putting not only Konoha into a tight spot but you're putting Kumo in a very bad spot too. Both villages will lose thousands of shinobi when war breaks out, and it will all be because of you. Jiraiya said gravely. He. You think I'm still the young impressionable kid I was 3 years ago. You can't manipulate me with mere words, or with any other method for that matter. Besides, Lord Raikage already broke the news to the entire village when I completed my 20th solo S-ranked mission. He told the entire village everything about me, and I do mean everything. Everyone was given voting ballots, even kids from 6 years old and above. Do you know how many people voted that I stay in the village despite the likelihood of war against Konoha? Naruto asked rhetorically. Everyone. There was a 100% vote. Everyone, child and adult, voted that they would rather go to war than lose me to Konoha or any other village. And, if you ever knew who I was, then you know how seriously I take that kind of loyalty and devotion. Naruto replied with a deathly tone. It's not loyalty, you imbecile. It's power hunger. As you said yourself, you're the heir of the yellow flash and the red-blooded habanero, and you're also the Kyuubi Jinchuriki. Jiraiya retorted. Are you going to sit there and pretend that that is not the reason Konoha will go to war for me? At least Kumogakure loves and appreciates all of that and more about me, unlike Konoha, who would rather see me be an incompetent, naive, and weak idiot for fear of what I may become. Kumogakure, in contrast, relished the opportunity to see what I could become and gave me the support I needed to become my best self. Understand this, Jiraiya-sensei, I will never return to Konoha, not willingly, and not by force either. Naruto said uncompromisingly. If you didn't want to be returned by force, then you should have never met with me alone on the outskirts of your sanctuary. You really expect me to just let you go and return to the village with nothing? You're coming back home with me even if I have to drag you by the scruff of the neck. Jiraiya said with a grave tone of voice. Hey, I see I'm being underestimated here. I'm next in line to become the next Raikage. You really think a mere Sannin is enough to take me down? Naruto asked incredulously. A mere Sannin, you say? Ho ho ho. A mere brat with less than 4 years of experience is underestimating me. I see now that all Kumogakure has done is sheltered you from the cruelty and reality of the world. Kid, you're still 100 years too young to defeat. Jiraiya trailed off as Naruto, in the blink of an eye, closed the distance between them and bisected the Sannin at the waist, using his large, gigantic sword which turned out to be the Kubikiribocho, moving at such a high speed and with such quick lightning-fast reflexes that Jiraiya didn't even get a chance to neither move out of the way nor activate his ultimate defense, the ninja art, Needle Jizo. Impossible. Jiraiya, or at least, the upper part of him, said in disbelief. A mere shadow clone, surprised that I made quick work of it. Don't insult me, Naruto said. Jiraiya, now identified as a shadow clone, involuntarily widening his eyes in surprise before disappearing in a puff of smoke, the clone's last thoughts being sheer disbelief at not only the fact that it was taken out so easily, but at the fact that Naruto knew that it was a clone all along. Come out, Jiraiya-sensei, Fukusaku-sama, and Shima-sama. Naruto said as he stared at the boulder that Jiraiya's clone had originally come from. Ho, so you knew it was a shadow clone from the start? Jiraiya said as he came out from behind the boulder, looking significantly more menacing than his shadow clone did as he now possessed toad-like features particularly around his face, his feet also transforming during his walk out as if in preparation for something. Those weren't the only changes, however, as, fused to his shoulders, were two small toads, one on each shoulder, and, both toads wearing long blackish-green cloaks but one female and the other a male, namely, Shima and Fukusaku. I'm the best sensory-type ninja in Kumogakure, probably in the entire shinobi world. I knew where you ate, slept, and bathed since you entered the land of lightning. Naruto retorted. More importantly, Jiraiya-chan, how does he know who we are? Did you tell him about us? Shima asked curiously. No, I didn't. I thought maybe some of the toads or you and Pa might have told him. He's a toad summoner, so is it that much of a surprise that he knows about the two of you? Jiraiya asked confusedly. It's a very big surprise. Naruto-chan did not summon toads outside of battle prior to his defection, and after his defection, when he tried to come to Mount Myoboku to train with the toads, his proposal was rejected and in fact, an annulment was proposed. It's nigh impossible that any toad would have told him about us. Needless to say, that he called us by our names is incredibly suspicious. Fukusaku retorted, causing a deep frown to appear on Jiraiya's facial features. Don't look so surprised, of course I did my due diligence about you and the toads, Jiraiya-sensei. I knew someday you would find out about my whereabouts and my new allegiances, and I knew you wouldn't approve and would selfishly try to force me back to Konoha. The only thing I didn't anticipate is that you would treat me as a big enough threat to warrant the use of not only a probing shadow clone but the use of Sennin mode from the get-go. I was almost 100% sure this battle would end in a mere matter of seconds because you underestimated me, though that could still happen regardless. Naruto said confidently. You're the Jinchuriki of the Kyuubi, and you've been in Kumogakure for 3 years. Kumogakure are well known for training their Jinchuriki very well and putting them through the paces. With your work ethic and unyielding determination, and Kumo's relentless Jinchuriki training and lust for power, I would have to be an utter fool to have come here unprepared, not to mention that all the information I was able to get about you painted you as some kind of thunder god who was all but guaranteed to be the next successor to the Raikage. I'm many things, but a fool is not one of them. I'm taking this battle very seriously. Jiraiya said with determination. Idiot. Why are you always so easily distracted? This child just talked about your Sennin mode, the ability you keep closest to your chest and only use against high-level threats. As far as I'm aware, no one has ever seen you in Sennin mode and lived to tell the story. The more important question then would be, how does he know about our Sennin mode? Shima chastised the toad sage, Jiraiya's eyes widening in surprise as it didn't hit him that Naruto was not supposed to know what his source of power was until now. Go easy on Jiraiya-chan ma. This is no doubt a very emotional and painful reunion for him. It's understandable if he doesn't have complete control over his mental faculties at this point in time. Fukusaku said empathetically. You fool. This is a life or death battle against a Jinchuriki. This is no time to lose your mental faculties. Shima chastised Pa this time. Jinchuriki this, Jinchuriki that. That's all you seem to care about. However, I don't need my Jinchuriki powers to win battles. They are just the cherry on top. You blind yourselves and put yourselves at a disadvantage if that is all you're worried about. As for my knowledge about Toad Sage mode, I'll tell you how I know everything if you can defeat me, though before we proceed, I just have to ask, doesn't your reliance on Fukusaku-sama and Shima-sama violate Toad Clan summoning law? I was told that the Toads have a strict policy against providing aid to one summoner against the other. Naruto asked curiously. Ho 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 ho. Shows what you know. The clan law applies to the boss summon and all of the Toads under his command, as the contract we both signed stipulates. The Toad Sages and the Elder Sage are not under Bunta's command, he is under theirs. Jiraiya retorted cheekily. Now that's one thing I had no idea about. Thanks for the information. Now, let us begin the battle of. Naruto trailed off as Jiraiya went through an extremely fast sequence of hand seals and placed his hands on the ground. Earth release. Great swamp of the underworld. Jiraiya exclaimed as the entire surface of Mount Uryako turned into a large and deep fast-sinking mud pit. At least that is what should have happened, instead nothing at all happening, much to the confusion of both Jiraiya and the Toad Sages, that is of course, until Jiraiya paid attention to Naruto's feet and saw that he was releasing a stream of lightning-based chakra into the entire surface area. He's utilizing the relationships between the 5 elements to full efficiency. Earth style is indeed weak against lightning style ninjutsu, but this jutsu was enhanced by my sage chakra, therefore it is not a ninjutsu but a senjutsu. Despite the weakness of earth against lightning, it shouldn't have been possible for him to so casually nullify my technique, especially without even the use of any hand seals. To have mastered elemental ninjutsu to this level would take a lifetime even for a genius, but for him to have this level of mastery in just 3 years is quite simply insane. Jiraiya thought warily. Jiraiya-chan, this battle could be more trouble than it's worth if we don't end this quickly. How about we use that collaboration jutsu? Fukusaku suggested. Good idea, Pa. Jiraiya-chan, you provide the oil, Pa, you provide the wind, and I'll provide the fire. Shima said hastily, immediately beginning the hand seal sequence, and so did Fukusaku and Jiraiya. Jiraiya spitting out oil that was propelled at an extreme velocity thanks to the wind style of Pa, creating a gigantic lake of scorching inferno when Ma ignited it with her fire style. As both wind style and oil were fire enhancers, the lake of fire covering such a wide surface area and traveling at such a speed that dodging or avoiding it was literally impossible. Storm release. Rage of the Storm Dragon. Naruto said after running through a dozen hand seals in an instant, creating a gigantic dragon made entirely of blue energy that was neither water-based or lightning-based, but a combination of both, creating an entirely new and different, but more powerful chakra nature, too solid to be a liquid, but too energy-based to be considered a solid, something that defied physics. The dragon was so large that it completely dwarfed the unbelievably large lake of fire, and it was moving at such a speed that the super-fast lake paled in comparison, the dragon completely destroying the lake and taking Jiraiya, Fukusaku and Shima with it, destroying a series of mountains before dissipating, not because it ran out of energy but because Naruto himself cancelled the jutsu. At the end of it all, Jiraiya had been blown so far away that Naruto had to use a series of shunshuns to close the distance again, arriving to see a completely worn-out Jiraiya, clothes torn asunder and lacerations all over his body, Ma and Pa not doing too well either. I can't believe it. Me, defeated with just one jutsu. No one has ever stopped the sage art. Gomon, but he not only obliterated it, but he also obliterated the combination barrier Ma, Pa and I tried to set up in the frog stomach that I summoned for defense. Just what the hell is he? I haven't been this badly hurt in just over 16 years, since my last spar with the Minato. Jiraiya thought warily. You finally look like your age. You look like you would fall over and die if I blew at you hard enough, though given my wind style affinity, I guess that's not a very good example. Naruto said sarcastically. He has wind style nature too. Storm release is said to be a combination of water and lightning release. So that's 3 nature transformations, plus a 4th one in storm release. All this at just the age of 16. If he is allowed to grow any further, Konoha will be in serious trouble, especially because he still has his Jinchuriki powers to fall back on. Jiraiya thought with trepidation. Jiraiya-chan, that storm release dragon, it has the ability to absorb chakra. That's why it completely dissipated our attack and instantly dissolved our combination defense barriers. That's also probably why all 3 of us feel so depleted after just one attack. Fukusaku said analytically, not allowing Jiraiya to respond to Naruto's taunts but choosing rather to let him focus on the vital information that he just provided. That's just ridiculous. As if it wasn't a powerful enough attack on its own. Shima said incredulously. We tried ninjutsu and barrier arts and it didn't work, which means that we have to go with taijutsu. Ma, focus on healing, and Pa, focus on replenishing my chakra reserves. We'll use Frog Kata to win this one. Jiraiya said optimistically. On it. But Jiraiya-chan, are you sure about this? We can assume that he has been trained by the Raikage and his brother. My information might be outdated, but I am quite certain that those 2 are arguably the best taijutsu users in the world, and they were fast enough to somewhat keep up with the 4th. Fukusaku inquired, skeptical about Jiraiya's plan while at the same time wondering why Naruto was content to just watch them and see what they are up to instead of finishing them off. That look in his eyes. He's analyzing every little detail about us, almost as if studying us. Does he think he can replicate our sage arts by just looking and analyzing, or is it just morbid curiosity? Pa thought warily, though ultimately deciding not to look a gift horse in the mouth and focus on possibly winning this battle, though if it was up to him, he would have ordered a retreat the minute that Storm Dragon disappeared. Jiraiya-chan is probably thinking that it is better to confirm his speed and taijutsu prowess rather than to speculate on it. Remember, Jiraiya-chan is a master of espionage. Information is the single greatest asset for someone like him. He probably wants to return to the village with as much information as possible about Naruto-chan's abilities. Ma replied. Quote, quote. It seems like you're quite pathetic at gathering sage chakra and even worse at controlling it. I thought you might have needed the toad sages in order to prolong its use, which of course I thought was a genius strategy. However, after watching this little interaction and analyzing the synchronization of chakra, it seems quite obvious that you literally need them to even maintain the form without getting overwhelmed by the sage chakra. You have no chance of defeating me. You might as well retreat before I change my mind and decide to kill you. Naruto said with an ice-cold tone of voice. The biggest mistake you made was allowing me to recover instead of finishing me off. I cannot count the number of times an enemy has fallen simply because they were too arrogant for their own good. Jiraiya said, the wounds on his body completely healing thanks to Ma's medical ninjutsu and his reserves refilling to the maximum once again thanks to Pa's sage chakra infusion. Arrogance, you say? I guess I can't fault you for thinking that. However, what you call arrogance I call benevolence. I didn't lure you out here in order to kill you, I did it in order to warn you. This battle is meant to serve as a warning to you and the rest of Konoha to stay away from Kumogakure and to stay away from me. If you go to war with Kumogakure, you will be annihilated. Consider this a last piece of mercy and advice from an old friend. After today, there will be no more mercy. All those who come after me or pose a threat to Kumogakure will be destroyed. All those who attempt to invade or spy on Kumogakure will also be destroyed. Consider yourself warned. Naruto said gravely. Counting your chickens before they hatch are we? You have not won this battle yet. Jiraiya exclaimed as, with a great burst of speed, he appeared right above Naruto. Sage art. Great big ball Rasengan. Jiraiya exclaimed, a ginormous Rasengan forming on his right hand. Naruto however managing to completely evade the attack as he moved out of the way with an incredibly fast shunshin technique. A large explosion reverberating all across the mountain range as the entire mountainside was destroyed by the technique, dust and debris flying everywhere. Did we get him? Pa, Ma, can you sense him any? Jiraiya trailed off as he was hit on his left side with a very powerful kick that sent him spiraling rapidly into the side of an adjacent mountainside, the whole side of the mountain collapsing due to the impact with which he landed on the mountainside. However, almost as soon as the mountain collapsed on him, Jiraiya came flying out of the debris and landed a few feet away from Naruto, acting like nothing happened even though 2 of his ribs were shattered from the impact. Ma, Pa, did you see what happened? I'm in sage mode and moving at the absolute peak of my senjutsu enhanced abilities, yet he was able to evade my fastest attack and hit me with an attack from my blind spot. If that was all, it would still be crazy. However, what makes matters worse is that my senses, reactions, and durability are also enhanced to the maximum in sage mode, yet he was able to damage this durable body with a mere kick and move fast enough to bypass my senses and reactions. This doesn't make sense to me. Can any one of you give me an answer? Jiraiya asked. The only thing I can say with regards to his speed is that I sensed wind chakra in his shunshin. This is a technique I myself, as a wind-style user, attempted in my younger days. However, infusing elemental nature transfusion into a shunshin is nigh impossible. Up until now, the only people known to have managed such a feat are the Raikage of Kumogakure. But, since he is allegedly the Raikage's apprentice, it's possible that Naruto-chan was given the secrets to Shunshin elemental infusion. Fukusaku replied. Great analysis Fukusaku-sama, and true. I am Lord Raikage's prized student after all. And yes, that was wind-enhanced Shunshin. The technique is known as wind release, flash step technique. It's a technique that requires me to simultaneously use wind style in two different ways, namely, to enhance my Shunshin speed by infusing wind to it while simultaneously removing wind resistance in the space all around me, allowing for greater ease of movement and flexibility, and it is also one of my many speed enhancement techniques. In fact, it is the weakest of my speed enhancement techniques, though it is highly efficient. Naruto explained in detail. How does that explain your monstrous physical strength? Your explanation does not make any account for physical strength enhancement. Jiraiya asked curiously. That's just my normal strength. Naruto replied casually. Jiraiya and the Toad sages involuntarily widening their eyes as they couldn't believe what they were hearing. Jiraiya-chan, I think we've seen enough. We have more than enough information to report on. Any further probing is meaningless, and will likely lead only to your death. It's not like he is invincible, we just were not properly prepared to deal with this kind of enemy. Even victory, at this point, would come at a great cost that I am not entirely sure that it would be worth it at all. We can always come back later with a better plan. Shima said, fearing not only for Jiraiya's life but for hers and Pa's life as well. I must agree with Ma on this one Jiraiya-chan, and I practically never agree with her about anything. Fukusaku said with concern, hoping that Jiraiya's wounded pride would not pose an obstacle to his survival instincts. Quote, Naruto, you said that you have many other speed enhancement techniques. How many is it exactly, apart from this one? Jiraiya asked curiously. Many. They don't call me the god of 1,000 techniques for nothing. Naruto retorted. More than 5. Jiraiya asked warily. Yes. Naruto deadpanned, the Toad Sage in disbelief as he was unable to detect any lies from Naruto. What about teleportation? Jiraiya asked curiously. You mean like my dad? Let's just say I have more techniques than he did in that regard. Naruto deadpanned, Jiraiya and the Toad Sages unable to hide the shock and fear on their facial features. Jiraiya-sensei. This has been an interesting encounter, but I'm afraid I am no longer amused or intrigued. You're incredible, really, but you came here with no information about me while I had all the information about you. So in a way it was an unfair advantage on my part. However, irrespective of that, you would be dead even if I didn't know you and had no intel on you, because then I wouldn't have held back. I understand that this will wound your pride, but you never stood a chance here today. You're only alive because I need you to take this information back to Konoha. Understand that this is the first and last time that I will show mercy. Please make sure that this is made clear. I've chosen my people, and my people are the people of Kumo. I will kill anyone who poses a threat to them. I won't hold back, and I won't play games. Naruto said matter-of-factly. Jiraiya-chan, I know it's frustrating, but this is a great opportunity to prepare. You can allow this misfortune to break you, or you can see it as an opportunity to improve and come back stronger. Fukusaku said with concern, not wanting Jiraiya to test Naruto's patience any further. I'll be back, count on it. Jiraiya said darkly. Weren't you listening? The whole point of this exercise was to create awareness to you and Konoha that in Kumogakure is not a good idea. Naruto said incredulously. Jiraiya, however, not bothering with a response, as turned and walked away, his pride wounded but his will not crushed as he refused to give up on himself, no matter how humiliated he felt right now. Wait. Before you go. I have an offer for you and the Toads. The deal is simple. I give you permission to use the Toads in battle against both me and any allies of mine. Naruto declared, causing Jiraiya to stop in his tracks as his interest was piqued. After all, Toad summoning was an intrinsic and significant part of his fighting style, and being unable to summon any was a monumental disadvantage to him. And what's the catch? Jiraiya asked warily. It's simple. In exchange, neither you nor I nor the Toads, can add anyone else to the contract until one of us dies, after which the Toads may still not add anyone else without my consent, unless of course the Toads become summoner-less because I also died before choosing a successor. It's a pretty fair deal, is it not? Naruto asked rhetorically. This child is very intelligent, and dangerous. He's betting on Jiraiya-chan dying long before he does due to their age and power differences in order to have full control over the Toad summoning contract, and to ensure that happens, he wants to ensure that neither Jiraiya-chan nor us are able to checkmate him by allowing another enemy Toad summoner to join the contract. If Jiraiya-chan should indeed pass before he does, Naruto-chan and his chosen apprentices will be the Toad summoners, and we the Toads will have no choice but to switch our allegiances to Kumogakure. This is a very bad situation. He clearly has no intention of giving up on the Toad summoning contract. Shima thought warily. I cannot make that decision arbitrarily. Ma, Pa, what do you have to say about this offer? Jiraiya asked humbly. There doesn't seem to be any other choice. If you don't accept, then you'll have to go to war with a limited arsenal and without being able to summon any of the boss Toads and their subordinates. Besides, if things stay the way they are, the scenario we're dreading is even more likely to occur. Let us maximize our chances of winning by accepting this generous yet diabolical offer. Fukusaku said, Shima sharing his sentiments as she voiced her own agreement to the plan. Very well, you have yourself a deal. Jiraiya said as he disappeared with a super fast burst of speed, disappearing from Mount Uryako like he was never there to begin with. So you're really letting him go? Just like that? I asked warily, clearly displeased by this turn of events, speaking to Naruto through his assistant, Mabui's mind communication jutsu. I owed him that much, and I owed us that much too. If there was a chance at peace, even be it a shaky one, I had to take it. Hopefully that display of power will be enough to dissuade Konoha from trying anything. Naruto responded. Imbecile. Did it sound like that is what is going to happen? I said irritably. Well, regardless of what happens, we'll always have to stay vigilant. Even if the powers that be in Konoha decide to back off, Konoha will always be lying in wait for us to slip up. And they won't just go for the Kyuubi, they'll take any Biju they can get their hands on. Naruto retorted. In that case, they might just go after Takigakure no Sato. They have the 7 tails, arguably the third strongest Biju. They are also weak enough for Konoha to overwhelm them and take their Jinchuriki. I retorted. Interesting. I never even considered that as a possibility. But it's none of our business, is it? Naruto asked. It could be, if Takigakure call on us for an alliance treaty in order for us to help them protect their Jinchuriki. I replied. Perhaps we should send them a warning about what might transpire. Naruto said warily, concerned for the Jinchuriki of the 7 tails despite never having met her. I thought you said it was none of our business. I asked knowingly, leaving Naruto completely speechless as he had no retort for that. After all, he did say it was none of their business. In any case, Naruto-kun, what are you planning to do about the other interlopers? Mabui asked with concern. If they still want to confront me after they saw me defeat a Sannin, then I don't know what the hell is wrong with them. Naruto said with a casual shrug of the shoulders. Meanwhile, so, what will you do, Sasuke-kun? Now that you know that your beloved old friend is safe and sound, in Kumogakure no Sato? Orochimaru asked with a tone that was both amused and condescending, Kabuto's lips morphing into an amused smirk as he looked at Sasuke with intrigue and curiosity, needlessly pushing his glasses into place for seemingly no particular reason whatsoever. His comrades, Jugo, Karen, and Suigetsu also wondering what the hell Sasuke was going to do, trusting their team leader but at the same time concerned about what decision he was going to make as, according to what they had just seen, and according to Karen's chakra readings, that Naruto was a monster disguised as a human being. We're going to capture him and take him back to Konoha. Sasuke said the one thing that nobody expected, which was quite honestly typical of him his comrades had come to learn. What? You idiot. Did you fall on your head or something? neglecting for a second that you want us to capture a ridiculous chakra monster like that damn Naruto. Why the hell would we do it for Konoha? Karen exclaimed incredulously. Cuckoo. I never imagined you of all people would want to aid Konoha to recapture a rogue ninja. Quite hypocritical of you, isn't it, Sasuke-kun? Why the sudden loyalty to Konoha after not only deserting them but also after they made your life so inconvenient over the last 3 years? Orochimaru asked, more out of amusement and curiosity than suspicion or distrust really. Don't be ridiculous. I hold no love for Konoha, only ire at the hypocrisy of that dobe. He hunted me down like a dog and tried to force me back to Konoha when I left, only for him to immediately do the same thing after I spared his life. It pisses me off just thinking about it. We're going to give him a taste of his own medicine. Sasuke said irritably. An eye for an eye, huh? Divine judgment? Kabuto asked rhetorically. That's not all he means to do. By capturing Naruto, he can leverage his own freedom against Naruto's. He can give Konoha an ultimatum. That he gives them Naruto in exchange for letting him go without any repercussions, or for him to let Naruto go and return to the hidden cloud. Jugo replied. Cuckoo. Interesting. I can't help but find myself intrigued by this turn of events. Very well, I'll allow it. Do as you please, children. Orochimaru said, laughing amusedly as he did, unable to believe how life had become both so frustrating and yet so intriguing ever since Sasuke joined Otogakure. If we're really going to try and capture him, then we'll have to attack him as if we're trying to kill him. If we fight him like Jiraiya Dono did, then we'll get wiped out. With that said, please allow me to challenge him first. I'm going to have to go all out in order to win, but we both know that I'm not exactly a team player when I go all out. Jugo said with conviction. Jugo. Sasuke trailed off, never having witnessed Jugo going all out before, as he was always trying to hold himself back from going completely over the hill. If I go all out, I'll be able to match him in every way possible, whether it be speed or brute force, and I'll be able to pressure him enough to prevent him from casting hand seals. One thing we cannot allow him to do is to cast any ninjutsu after what we just witnessed. If he is allowed to cast his storm release, Rage of the Storm Dragon on us, then he could effectively end the battle in one shot. Jugo further elaborated. Bullshit. I should get first shot at him. He has the Kubikiribocho. If I don't retrieve the sword with my own 2 hands, then it doesn't mean anything. Suigetsu argued. Idiot. He is the Raikage's successor and we just saw him use Storm Release, which means he has mastered both Water Style and Lightning Style. He can match your Water Style with his own, and his Lightning Style is your main weakness. You'll be at a complete disadvantage. Karen argued. If he's going to be useless in this battle anyway, then we have nothing to lose by letting him go first. Suigetsu, you go first. If you lose, then Jugo will take over. I'll go last. Sasuke ordered, effectively ending the argument right then and there. Suigetsu, not wanting to give Sasuke a chance to change his mind, immediately leapt into action as he pumped water into his legs, developing very big and defined water muscle on his legs in order to propel himself far, completely leaping over the mountain they were hiding behind and jumping all the way to the battlefield, Sasuke, Orochimaru, Kabuto, Jugo, and Karen following him as they scaled the mountain until they were at the top in order to get a nice vantage point. Boom. That was the deafening sound as Suigetsu landed a short distance away from Naruto, who had a raised eyebrow as he marveled at the feat that the guy just pulled off, knowing very well that no average shinobi could make such a giant leap the way that this guy just did. Naruto couldn't help but also notice something familiar about the guy that was now standing in front of him, as if he recognized him from somewhere but unable to quite put his finger on it. That's a very flashy announcement there, strange shinobi-san. I would have expected you to try some kind of sneak attack as would be expected of a shinobi, not to just announce yourself like that. Naruto said nostalgically, being reminded of himself when he confronted Kakashi just like this during their final Genin exam. We already know that you're a sensor type. A sneak attack is pointless. More importantly, I'm going to give you the opportunity to peacefully hand over Zabuza-senpai's blade, or else. The interloper trailed off with a dangerous tone of voice. Zabuza-senpai, you said. I see now. I thought I recognized you from somewhere. You're related to Hazuka Mangetsu, aren't you? One of the greatest 7 ninja swordsmen, said to be the only one ever to master the use of all 7 swords. A member of the Hazuka clan that has a hydro-kinetic bloodline limit. Naruto replied as realization dawned on him. You certainly know a little too much about the Mist Village, especially about that organization. Suigetsu said with his right hand placed firmly on the hilt of his Zanbeitu, staying ready for any sort of movement that Naruto might make, having witnessed just how ridiculously fast he could move after watching his entire battle against one of the Sannin, the Toad Sage Jiraiya. Of course I do. Zabuza Dono and his apprentice, Yuki Haku Dono of the Yuki clan, were the inspiration for my ninja way. I only knew them briefly, but it is not too much of a stretch to say that they have had the most impact on the person that I am today. It's why I carry Zabuza Dono's sword, in honor of their legacy. It is also why I made it a point to research Kurigakure and the 7 ninja swordsmen. I suppose I really had no choice since I went on to encounter another 7 ninja swordsmen in Hoshigaki Kisame Dono. He and Kinslayer Uchiha Itachi are hunting me on behalf of Akatsuki. It would thus be foolish of me not to try and find out all I can about that organization. Naruto explained politely. So you fancy yourself as Zabuza-senpai's successor, huh? But I'm the one that was dubbed as the second coming of the demon, not you. I'm the one that was inducted into the 7 ninja swordsmen as a trainee and successor to Zabuza-senpai, not you. Suigetsu argued. That may be true, but I'm the one who defeated his apprentice, and I'm the one he acknowledged. Naruto retorted. Which means that if I defeat you, then the sword is mine. Suigetsu replied. Tell you what, since you want the Kubikiribocho so badly, how about this? Naruto trailed off as he pulled out the sword from his back and threw it into the air, the bandages on the sword disappearing in a puff of smoke as the sword spun in the air until it landed exactly in the middle of the distance between Naruto and Suigetsu, the sword digging into the ground in a way as if just waiting for someone to grab it by the hilt and pull it out. If you can get to that sword and pull it out before I do, or if you can stop me from grabbing and pulling it out of the ground, then I'll let you have it. Naruto said with a confident smirk on his facial features. You think this is some kind of game, don't you? I'll make you regret that. Suigetsu said with a cocky smirk. Are you just going to stand there and talk, or are you going to? Naruto trailed off as, in a split second, Suigetsu pumped a ton of water into his leg muscles and exploded into action, moving at a ridiculous speed as he went straight for the sword, trying to catch Naruto off guard by making his move mid-sentence. However, Naruto wasn't having any of that as his reaction was so great that he practically began moving at the same time that Suigetsu made his move. Instantly activating his Shunpo no Jutsu and proceeding to beat Suigetsu to the sword despite Suigetsu's own insane movement speed, Naruto grabbing the head cleaver and parrying away Suigetsu's overhead slash with such power and ferocity that he knocked the sword clean off of Suigetsu's hands, sending the sword flying rapidly away and all the way to the other side until it was lodged deep into the mountainside. Suigetsu, with his arms smacked upwards, and his utter shock from the sheer power and brute force of Naruto, was left completely open for an attack, Naruto not wasting any time at all as he proceeded to horizontally bisect the Mist Native at the waist, only for his sword to pass right through the Mist Native and proceed to get stuck inside the said Mist Native, Suigetsu having turned himself into water and proceeded to solidify himself like a water prison in order to get the Kubikiribocho stuck inside of him. What the hell? Naruto trailed off, not even getting a chance to process his shock as Suigetsu pointed his index finger at him and proceeded to shoot an insanely fast water bullet at Naruto from point-blank range, a sonic boom reverberating as the water bullet was shot at the speed of sound, yet Naruto somehow managing to dodge the bullet despite the fact that it was shot right at his face. Not wasting any time at all and realizing just how dangerous his opponent was, Naruto proceeded to stream a rather large voltage of lightning chakra into the head cleaver, electrocuting Suigetsu so bad that he almost literally became putti in his hands. Seeing how Suigetsu was completely out of it from the electrical shock, Naruto proceeded to sweep Suigetsu's legs, causing him to fall on his back, still with the Kubikiribocho inside of him, Naruto funneling more lightning chakra into the Kubikiribocho in order to keep Suigetsu from regaining completely his bearings. This guy. He was able to instantly figure out the exact amount of lightning required to keep me completely immobilized without killing me or rendering me unconscious. Just what the hell is he? Suigetsu thought in both pain and awe. That was both amazing and underwhelming at the same time. By that I mean that your level of talent is amazing, but your actual performance is, for a lack of a better term, trash. Naruto deadpanned, causing an angry frown to appear on Suigetsu's facial features. Let me explain. Naruto said with his right hand up in a stop gesture, effectively stopping Suigetsu before he could launch himself into an outburst of anger and embarrassment. Your chakra capacity is quite frankly amazing, easily cage level. You also have an amazing bloodline limit. But your chakra is also untamed and unrefined, which means you either received little to no training whatsoever, or you neglected your training and decided to try and whinge it with only raw talent alone. Naruto said, Suigetsu widening his eyes in surprise at the fact that Naruto was able to figure all of that out from their brief exchange. Take for example your body augmentation technique. From what it seems, you are using your hydrokinesis bloodline limit to pump water into your muscles, creating what is known as water muscle in order to improve your power and speed. However, your use of it is amateurish at best. Someone with that ability is supposed to study martial arts and human anatomy extensively in order to maximize their talent, but clearly you have done neither. Naruto replied. How do you know that? Suigetsu asked with a deep frown on his face. Because you think that pumping everything into your legs in order to increase your foot speed is a good idea, or pumping everything into your arms to improve the power of your swing is a good thing. Naruto deadpanned. What the hell? That's stupid as hell. Why wouldn't I pump water into my arms to improve the power of my sword slash? Suigetsu asked incredulously. Do you think that the arms are the only body parts involved in swinging a sword? What about your shoulder and back muscles? What about your lower back and your hips? What about your thighs and your calves? Do you not take on a different leg stance depending on the type of slash you execute? Do you not rotate your hips to increase the power of your swing? Does the power of your shoulders and the elasticity of your back muscles not play a role in the swing of your sword? Does the same not apply to running and evading attacks? Do you only use the legs to make those movements? Naruto asked rhetorically, Suigetsu's eyes widening even further as realization dawned on him, wondering why up until this moment, no one had pointed out to him something that, in hindsight, seemed so obvious now that he thought about it. Rather than pumping as much water muscle as you can on a singular body part, you would be much faster and much stronger if you evenly distributed the water muscle all across your body. Develop efficient body augmentation as opposed to whatever it is that you've been doing so far. It will also improve not just your speed and power but also your reflexes, agility, and reaction time. Naruto concluded his explanation. Hey, stop acting high and mighty, asshole. Unlike you, I didn't have cage-level ninja like the Raikage and his perfect Jinchuriki brother to train me. Suigetsu argued stubbornly. You had a Sannin training you though, didn't you? Naruto asked with a raised eyebrow. Hey, like hell he did. That asshole kidnapped me 6 months into my 7 ninja swordman training and had me locked up in a water tank for years while conducting experiments on me. It's only 2 months ago I was released thanks to Sasuke. Suigetsu said with both anger and frustration. Only 6 months and he is this strong. That's actually quite incredible. This guy is a true genius. No wonder they called him the second coming of the demon. Naruto thought in awe. Congratulations, Hazuka-san. You have truly impressed me. I won't give you the Kubikiribocho, but I do have a gift for you. Naruto said as he pulled out a scroll from his ninja pouch with the kanji for sword on it, Naruto unsealing the sword to reveal a very large, Kubikiribocho-sized sword that had a blade that was black and silver. The black, vertical half of the sword possessing a silver-gray dragon motif and the silver half of the blade possessing a red dragon motif on it. This is a sword of my own design. It's known as the Hell Razor. Infused into it is a powerful fire release and wind release affinity. The silver dragon motif represents the wind release and the red dragon the fire release. The blade also enables you to combine the wind and fire to use scorch release or use them individually. I think you are the perfect host for this sword because it makes up for your weakness to lightning release. You can use the wind nature of this sword to counter against lightning oscillations or just to protect yourself from them. If you really focus on your training for the next 3 to 6 months, and I mean really focus, I believe you can become a truly legendary shinobi whose name will be spoken of long after you're gone from this world. Use this gift wisely, and bring honor to this sword. Naruto said as he stuck the sword on the ground next to Suigetsu, pulling his sword out of Suigetsu's torso and helping him up on his feet. Why are you doing this? I'm your enemy, Suigetsu asked incredulously. Because you've been dubbed the second coming of someone I deeply admire. I believe helping you become the best you will bring honor to that great man's name. Besides, I see a lot of myself in you. I know very well what it's like to have your talent and potential stunted and held back by the powers that be. Naruto said with a genuine smile, leaving Suigetsu speechless as he didn't know just what the hell to do with this guy, having never met anyone like him before, not even Sasuke. Quote. Damn it. Fine. I'll take the sword, Suigetsu said in frustration, like hell he was going to reject such a wonderful gift. But this changes nothing. I'll recuse myself from this battle, but I hope you know that the next time we meet all bets are off. Suigetsu said with a cocky smirk. Looking forward to it, Naruto said with a confident smirk of his own. Boom. That was yet again a loud sound as this time another one of Sasuke's teammates landed hard on the ground, a very tall and muscular guy, much taller than even Naruto, looking down at both Naruto and Suigetsu with a serious and no-nonsense look on his facial features. This guy, he's no joke. I can't believe how big he is. Before I came to Kumo, I never thought I would ever see any shinobi bigger than Jiraiya-sensei. Then I met Uncle B and Old Man Raikage and I couldn't believe that they made Jiraiya-sensei look small. But this guy, he looks like he is even taller than Old Man Raikage. Naruto thought in disbelief. Not to mention his insane chakra levels. There's something familiar about his chakra, though I can't put my finger on it. Naruto thought as he carefully analyzed the new foe. Suigetsu, did you suddenly forget about our mission, or have you betrayed Sasuke for this guy? You seem awfully friendly with him, for someone who is supposed to capture him. Jugo asked with a calm but dead serious tone, not one that would tolerate any betrayal when it comes to Uchiha Sasuke, someone whom he considered to be a memento of Kimimaro, his best friend and brother in everything but blood. Don't be an idiot, Jugo. I only agreed to any of this because I wanted the Kubikiribocho. Now that I have something even more useful to me than the Kubikiribocho, there's no more reason for me to fight Naruto, that's all. Suigetsu retorted, completely on guard as he knew that, at literally any moment, Jugo could completely lose it and attack him and everyone else that catches his sight. I see. Well, I'd suggest you get out of my way. I haven't completely given in to my urges since I was 10 years old. Even I do not know what is about to happen. Jugo said as he removed the cloth that he used as a cloak from his upper body and threw it away, Suigetsu not wasting any time as he hightailed out of there, not wanting to be anywhere near a fully insane Jugo unless he absolutely had no choice but to be. And who might you be, big guy? Naruto asked curiously, warily observing the imposing figure that was his next opponent. They're coming at me one by one. Why? It must be obvious by now that I'm not an easy opponent to defeat. Are they trying to wear me down? No, they should know better. I'm a Jinchuriki, they should know at least that much. Even if they didn't, they have a chakra sensor in their ranks. Their sensor type would know that trying to burn me out of chakra is a fool's errand. Are they trying to collect data for Sasuke? Why does he even want to capture me? Naruto thought with both confusion and incredulity. My name is Jugo. Just Jugo. I don't have anything against you, Uzumaki Naruto, but Sasuke has ordered that you be captured and returned to Konoha as punishment for your hypocrisy, and I intend to deliver. Jugo said as curse markings began to appear all over his body, the color of his eyes changing as his sclera turned completely black and his skin began to turn grayish-brown. That's the curse seal. No, this is different. He doesn't have a curse seal on him. He's actually gathering the nature energy on his own accord. He's a sage, which means he must be the original, the source of the curse seal. Naruto thought in awe. Forgive me, Naruto, I'm about to completely lose it. I'm afraid you won't like who I become. He. Ha 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 ha. Ha. I'm going to kill you, you bastard. Who gives a fuck about capturing you? If you die, ha 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 ha. Jugo exclaimed with rage, hate and elation all at the same time, his body completely changing color and his eyes looking like he was a demon spawn. There were also some sort of chakra exhaust pipes on his back that were releasing a crazy amount of chakra, his chakra levels spiking up to unprecedented levels. Hey, what an interesting change in personality. Won't like you. You must be completely out of your mind. I absolutely love this side of you. Let's go wild, Jugo. Naruto said with elation, excited for the challenge that he was about to receive from Jugo. Die, you bitch. Jugo said as he closed the distance between himself and Naruto so fast that it looked like he was teleporting, Naruto's eyes widening in surprise as he barely managed to get out of the way of Jugo's linear attack thanks to a combination of both his shunpo and his insane reaction speed, which was thanks to both his natural reflexes and of course his chakra sensory skills, which were so potent that they gave him a Sharingan-like ability to predetermine the moves of his opponents. However, Jugo was relentless as he continued to put the pressure on Naruto. Not allowing Naruto any space at all as he wanted to make sure Naruto couldn't form any hand seals. Well, his insane self didn't actually care about that strategy, though his sane self knew that it didn't matter because his insane self would try to put constant pressure anyway as that was the only way he knew how to fight, which meant that inadvertently, the plan he had in mind would be implemented regardless of his mental state. I see why he chose to surrender himself to insanity. The sheer power and speed of this form is enough to instantly kill most shinobi, and those with enough prowess to survive won't be able to form hand seals and will be eventually overwhelmed. The power and speed this sage mode provides is worth going insane for if you have no comrades to worry about. He's kind of like me when I used to rely on the Kyuubi's power without being able to control it. Naruto thought as he and Jugo traded kicks and punches at lightning-fast speeds all across the Mount Uryako Canal, the shockwaves made by the connection of their kicks and punches enough to tear through boulders, hills, and mountain sides, the two of them completely redesigning the landscape as they went toe-to-toe in the most brutal a dance one could only dream to be a part of. This is impossible. They're not human. I've never seen anything like this before. Actually, I can't even see what's going on. But the chakra that they're releasing is far beyond anything any human should be capable of. They're not human, they're monsters, demons. Karen thought fearfully, wondering just what the hell she would do if either of Naruto or Jugo turned their attention on her. It looks like they're evenly matched though. Jugo's natural speed and power, combined with his jet boost thrusters is enabling him to match Naruto at full speed. The way things are going, it looks like it will be a battle of endurance. Suigetsu said analytically. They're not evenly matched. Naruto has far more taijutsu skill than Jugo. Jugo has great instincts and adapts quickly. No, not quickly, but instantly. However, Naruto himself has always had insane instincts. He has both the skill and the instincts, while Jugo only relies on his instincts. Furthermore, even if the injuries healed instantly, Jugo has suffered from 14 clean bone breaks and 13 dislocated joints in the very short time they have been fighting. Naruto clearly has the advantage. Sasuke said tensely, unable to believe just how far the Dobi had come since they last fought, especially seeing as the Dobi had not used a single shadow clone nor had he used any of the Kyuubi's chakra, completely relying on his own powers and abilities instead of hiding behind clones and using the Kyuubi as a crutch. Kukuku. It does not really matter though, does it, Sasuke-kun? Jugo has an infinite source of chakra. He could fight like this for 3 days and 3 nights if he had to. Orochimaru said amusedly. So can Naruto. His chakra is like an ocean. It has no beginning and no end, at least it feels that way. Karen said warily, not excited at all about standing around here for 3 days. What's impressive is that Naruto could break Jugo's bones at all or dislocate any of his body parts when he is in this state. Punching or kicking Jugo in this form is the equivalent of kicking a 6-meter thick wall of stainless steel. To call this person right here in front of us Uzumaki Naruto seems like a very bad joke. The boy I met 3 years ago was a talentless clown. He could never have been capable of something like this. Kabuto said in disbelief. Well, I suppose we should be glad that Naruto-kun has grown so much. If he hadn't, we would be the ones burdened with stopping Jugo's rampage. Kukuku. Orochimaru laughed with a tone that was both full of trepidation and amusement at the same time. Liger bomb. Everyone heard before they could fully process what Orochimaru had just said, Naruto having caught Jugo in a submission move before quickly going for the finishing blow, lifting the mammoth of a monster over his head before smashing him head first into the ground. The impact was so powerful that it created a literal earthquake, completely rearranging the entire landscape to the point that the surrounding mountains, including the one on which Sasuke and his comrades were standing, began crumbling, slabs of earth shifting off the mountains and falling down, forcing the group to migrate to a lower, more secure area. That was crazy. He changed the whole landscape. Was he still holding back when he fought me? There's no way even Jugo could have survived that. Suigetsu thought in both awe and fear, wondering if there was even any limit to Uzumaki Naruto's ninja prowess. He's alive. I don't know how, but he's alive, Karen said, both excitement and concern in her tone, concern for Jugo's health and excitement for the fact that he was alive. Naruto might have undergone a complete transformation, but he's no murderer. It's not in his nature to kill needlessly. He knew Jugo would survive due to both his insane durability and his instant regeneration when he is in this form, so he went for the head in order to knock him out. Instant healing or not, you can't fight if you're unconscious. Sasuke retorted. I knew this child would be a problem the second I saw him use the fourth jutsu to earn an unlikely victory over Kabuto 3 years ago. But even I never imagined it would be anything like this. How terrifying. If he is this powerful after just 3 years of adequate training and mentoring, how much more powerful will he become in the next 3 years, no, even just 1 year from now? Orochimaru said warily. It will be hard for him to develop his skills anymore behind a Konoha prison. Sasuke retorted. What? Baka. Don't tell me you're actually thinking about fighting that monster. Don't be an idiot. You'll die for nothing. Karen exclaimed angrily. Don't compare me to the likes of you. I only recruited you for the purpose of distracting Hoshigaki Kisame while I deal with Itachi. It's not like I had high expectations of you to begin with. Sasuke said as he disappeared via a shunshin. Sasuke, Karen said dreamily, unable to believe that she had even dared to doubt her Sasuke-kun. Sasuke is many things, but he is not stupid. If he's going in after seeing all of that, then he either has a solid game plan or he has a jutsu that can even the playing field, or both. Karen thought with conviction. Back on the battlefield. Sasuke. It's been a while. I know you and I have history, but I'm still surprised that you would come all this way just to get your ass kicked by me. You must love having me put my foot up your ass, huh? Naruto said tauntingly, carrying Jugo's unconscious body on his left shoulder. What's even more surprising is that you're already suffering from dementia in your teenage years. Just who was it that had their foot up whose ass at the Valley of the End? Sasuke asked rhetorically. Yes, my one and only official loss as a ninja. I assure you however that will never happen again. Naruto retorted. I'm not the same Sasuke you knew 3 years ago. Not only have I become infinity more powerful, but I am far more ruthless. If you don't surrender now and allow yourself to be captured, I will remove all of your limbs before I drag you back to Konoha. Sasuke said with a grave undertone. He. Big words, for someone who is as unprepared as you are. You have your Sharingan active, which is good, but you should know better than to think that anything under Curse Seal Level 2 would give you any shred of hope for defeating me. Naruto said confidently. I don't need you to tell me how to defeat you. Sasuke retorted. Very well then, Naruto said as he threw, very hard. Jugo's unconscious body at Sasuke, Sasuke attempting to catch his friend only to get pummeled hard by the force with which the body was thrown. Both he and Jugo sent flying away as Sasuke struggled to try and stop their momentum, his feet digging a long trench into the ground until eventually he had no choice but to move out of the way and allow Jugo's body to pass him, the body eventually hitting the mountain on the far side with a loud explosion, dust and debris flying in every direction as a result. 4 of my ribs are shattered from the impact alone. Just how ridiculously strong is he? Did Jugo really have to deal with this while they were fighting? Sasuke thought as he subconsciously activated Curse Seal Level 2, his subconscious sending warning signs to his body that he would likely die instantly if he did not utilize his maximum output from the get-go. No wings. What happened to them? Someone chopped them off. Naruto asked tauntingly, watching curiously as Sasuke removed the sleeves of his kimono top and allowed them to hang on his sides. Or has he mastered the curse seal enough that he can shapeshift or unsheath certain body parts? Best not to underestimate him then. Naruto thought. My injuries are healed, but unlike Jugo, this is a once-off for me. I should be fast enough to keep up with his speed in this form, and my visual prowess should be enhanced enough that I can track all of his movements. However, if he touches me even once, I'll be in serious trouble. Best make it that he cannot touch me, and increase my speed until it's beyond even his. Sasuke thought as he came up with a game plan that was guaranteed to secure his victory. Lightning release. Chidori stream. Sasuke said as his entire body became illuminated by lightning, more specifically, as he activated a full-body Chidori, a jutsu that made him untouchable as anything that even approached him would get electrocuted and sliced by the sharpness of the Chidori, but also a jutsu that increased his speed and reflexes exponentially as his neural synapses become enhanced significantly. A full-body Chidori. How interesting. Naruto trailed off, eyes ever so slightly widening in surprise as Sasuke suddenly appeared before him. Sword drawn already as the last Uchiha executed a perfect horizontal slash. Naruto somehow defying all logic as, at the very last second, he was able to move completely out of Sasuke's range, almost as if by teleportation, appearing again behind Sasuke as he executed an exact replica of Sasuke's move from behind, the only difference being that his sword was much larger and much heavier than Sasuke's, though one would swear the sword was as light as a feather given how easily Naruto was wielding it. Nevertheless, Sasuke, at the very last second, managed to turn around and block the attack, and though that did save his life, he did not however escape without any damage as he was violently flung away by Naruto's sheer brute force alone, spinning around uncontrollably as he crashed on the surface like a rag doll, hitting the ground repeatedly as his body involuntarily traveled at a ridiculous pace. However, in a great stroke of genius, Sasuke manifested his claw-like wings and flew himself upwards, thereby avoiding any further damage from the surface and from Naruto too, who had just appeared behind him in order to land the finishing blow. By the skin of your teeth. Naruto said as he looked up in the air, a confident smirk on his facial features, a look that infuriated Sasuke to no end, not liking at all the feeling of being looked down upon by the Dobi, even though technically the Dobi was looking up at him. So he really can body shift to some extent. He truly is a genius amongst geniuses. Naruto thought in awe of his former best friend. That was not your wind-enhanced Shunshin. That was something else. Your wind-style Shunshin is fast, but it's not fast enough to circumvent the enhancement of both level 2 Curse Seal and Chidori Negashi. What did you do? Sasuke asked, though he sure as hell knew how to make it sound more like a demand than a request for information. Why don't you come down and play with me some more? I'd rather show you than tell you. Naruto said tauntingly. Sasuke. He's using both lightning and wind style simultaneously to augment his speed and reflexes. It's some kind of bloodline limit. Karen exclaimed, using chakra to enhance her vocal cords so that her words would reach all the way to Sasuke. He. You have a really good sensory type there, Sasuke. Not all sensory types can sense chakra with that kind of pinpoint accuracy. And yes, congratulations, old friend, you were able to push me in enough of a corner to have to use my swift release bloodline limit in order to survive your attack. That means that you're really, and I mean really fast. Naruto said with a thumbs up. So he managed to bypass my Chidori Nagashi enhanced blade by streaming wind style chakra into his sword, and matched my curse level 2 and Chidori Nagashi enhanced speed with his bloodline limit. I didn't want to believe that the Dobi was the Yondaime Hokage's son, but it's undeniable now. He must have inherited this speed-enhancing bloodline limit from the fourth Hokage. Sasuke thought with both realization and anger, refusing to believe that Naruto possibly had a better lineage than even he did. You think you can match the power of the Uchiha just because you have some low-born bloodline limit? You're not a genius of ninjutsu. I'll show you what it means to. Sasuke trailed off as Naruto levitated himself into the sky, flying up until he was face to face with Sasuke, who was too surprised to even react to what he was seeing, eyes wide in complete shock and surprise. If you're not going to come down and play some more with me, I can always come up and play with you up here. Just so you know, I can fly just as fast as I can run, maybe even faster. Naruto trailed off darkly. What's wrong? Fox caught your tongue? Naruto asked tauntingly. Listen, Sasuke. You'll have noticed I went out of my way to spare the lives of your comrades. It's a good team, talent-wise, but you haven't trained them at all. It's a complete waste. The four of you could be powerhouses, but you've focused only on yourself and your development and have neglected theirs. You need to do better by your comrades, and they need to do better by you. Naruto trailed off, taking a small pause before continuing where he left off. I know you. You may not agree with that statement, but I do really know you. I know that you recruited them to deal with Itachi's teammates in Akatsuki while you personally handle Itachi, and I know that you have no intention of allowing Orochimaru to take your body. As far as Itachi is concerned, I think with your Cursed Seal level 2 and Chidori Nagashi, you can outspeed him and evade his super fast ninjutsu, the Amaterasu. You don't appear to have the Mangekyou Sharingan, but you do have a mature Sharingan and you have Chidori Nagashi, which alters and speeds up your neural synapses. It should be difficult, maybe even impossible for Itachi to trap you in his Tsukiyomi with those two abilities, not to mention your Curse Seal level 2, which amps up all of your abilities, including your Sharingan. Naruto explained patiently. Why are you telling me this? Sasuke asked with a frown on his facial features. I'm acknowledging your growth and your preparations. It doesn't mean you're guaranteed victory. After all, Itachi, from what I have learned from Lord Raikage, was known to be a close associate best of Shunshin Shishui of the Uchiha clan. His Shunshin was so fast that many people actually believed he was teleporting. For all we know, Itachi might be at that level of speed and reflexes too. Also, we don't know what other abilities he has developed over the years. But having said that, you're moving in the right direction. Being overmatched against me doesn't mean you have less of a chance of defeating Itachi. Styles make fights. There is no ABC logic in combat. Naruto retorted, causing a snarl to appear on Sasuke's facial features. I don't need your pity. Sasuke said as, in the blink of an eye, he shot a long spear out of his right hand made entirely of lightning chakra, a spear so vivid and smooth that it almost looked like a real spear, the spear extending so far that it pierced, in an instant, straight into Naruto's chest. At least that is what was supposed to happen. Sasuke, however, surprised when the chakra spear did not even break Naruto's skin. Impossible. My Chidori sharp spear is the ultimate assassination technique. It can pierce through anything. Sasuke thought in surprise. A Chidori extended into a long sword, or is it a spear? Naruto asked curiously. Quote. No comment. You're wondering why you couldn't penetrate my skin, huh? Tell me, how much do you know about the late third Raikage? Naruto asked curiously, Sasuke not responding as he continued to grit his teeth in both anger and confusion, wondering why nothing he tried seemed to work on Naruto. Nothing. Well, no surprise there. We grew up under Konoha propaganda, where we were made to believe that the only legendary shinobi come from the Leaf Village. Naruto retorted. In any case, he was known as the strongest shield and the sharpest sword. He had a jutsu not unlike the Chidori but more powerful with more penetrative force than the Chidori. It was called the lightning release, hell stab. His other trait was his iron skin. This was a testament not to a jutsu but to his toughness. Nothing could damage him and nothing could penetrate his skin. As a result, up until he died he was undefeated. Naruto explained. If he was undefeated, how did he die? Sasuke asked incredulously. Kumo was betrayed by Iwa in the Third Shinobi War. The Third Raikage, to save his comrades, fought 10,000 shinobi on his own. He killed every last one of them before he died from chakra exhaustion after 3 days of battle. Naruto explained patiently. You're saying that you have the same impregnable skin and durable body of the Third Raikage? Sasuke asked incredulously. The doubt in your tone implies that you don't believe a word of what I just said. Yet your prized assassination technique has just failed to do any harm to me. Or do you think it an illusion? Wouldn't that be even more unlikely, for me to fool your legendary Sharingan with Genjutsu, me of all people for that matter? Naruto retorted. Quote.